एवं नमस्ते, मेरा नाम है डॉक्टर दीपानिता और आपका स्वागत है फिर से इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस इन न्यूज़ की सीरीज़ पे। तो आज से मैं स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इन न्यूज़ वाला सीरीज़, जो कि कवर करेगा मई 2025 से लेके सारे महीनों में क्या क्या इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बज़ में थे, जो कि इम्पॉर्टेंट है आपके प्रीलिम्स के एग्जामिनेशन के पर्सपेक्टिव में। उसके इम्पॉर्टेंट हाइलाइट्स, उसके बारे में थोड़ा बहुत एंड एक जनरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेंगे, ताकि आपको एक आइडिया रहे कि अच्छा ये वाला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हर एक महीने में या काफ़ी रेगुलरली बज़ में है, इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा और जानना चाहिए क्या हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है। एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जियोपॉलिटिक्स इज नॉट अ सडन इवेंट, राइट। ये एक जिग्जॉ पजल की तरह होता है, धीरे धीरे ही जाके पूरा पिक्चर समझ में आता है जब हम सारे जो पजल पीसेस हैं साथ में लगाते हैं। आपको फर्स्ट में ऐसा लगेगा कि अरे ये क्या हो रहा है, ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, एंड यू विल स्टार्ट प्रिडिक्टिंग फ्यू थिंग्स। आई वुड आस्क यू दैट होल्ड ऑन, गेट द होल पिक्चर एंड देन यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट्स हैपनिंग। द सेकेंड थिंग इज इसको कैसे यूज करना है। सो एज यूजुअल आई विल बी शेयरिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर पीपीटी इन माई टेलीग्राम चैनल, एंड आप ये पर्टिकुलर पीपीटी को यूज करते हुए अपने नोट्स को उस पर पीपीटी में ऐड कर लेना आप, या अगर आप खुद के नोट्स बना रहे हो, विच इज द बेस्ट थिंग टू डू, then what you should do is have your the white papers or the register, whatever, organization का नाम, important key point, and you keep working on that, right? ताकि अगर आपको पता है whenever you're revising it, क्योंकि रिविजन तो करना ही पड़ेगा, आपको याद तो नहीं आने वाला है एक बार पढ़ने में या देखने में। जब आप रिवाइज करोगे उस समय पे ये रहेगा कि अच्छा ये इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि ये आया है। And if you are not clear exactly what it is, then the next thing is to go and kind of look into, AI is always there to help you out, right? तो वहाँ पे जाके आपको बस थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में जो आपको confusion लग रहा है, just go and Google and you'll be able to figure it out. At this point of time, this May month is where I'm kickstarting the prelims preparation for 2026. As part of this entire initiative, I will not only cover international organization but places in news, important judgments and all of that, जो कि हमेशा हर साल मैं करती आई हूँ for the prelims perspective. Everything you are going to get in this channel and through these variety of series that I'm going to kickstart from now onwards. What will be the frequency? I will be trying to cover 2 months, like this particular episode has got May, June clubbed in. तो मई जून का रहेगा, देन जुलाई अगस्त का रहेगा, तो 2 महीने में आई विल कीप डूइंग इट एवरी वीक, ताकि आपके नोट्स अपडेटेड हो जाएं, प्लस आप रिवाइज भी करते रहो, एंड यू आर द एंटायर पिक्चर इज विथ यू बिफोर द करंट अफेयर्स फोमो स्टार्ट्स, राइट। ये फोमो कभी 15 फरवरी के बाद मार्च में जाके शुरू होता है कि अरे बाप रे क्या करना है करंट अफेयर्स का। तो बिफोर दैट हिट्स द इंफॉर्मेशन विल बी विथ यू एंड यू विल बी एबल टू kind of take a very sorted, slow approach, ताकि आप इसको proper तरीके से आप कर पाओ। The second thing that I wanted, or the last thing that I want to talk about before I start off is that कि जैसे कि मैंने कहा 2 महीने में कवर करूंगी, and I will be covering till May. अप्रैल तक आपको इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो अप्रैल तक आपका रहेगा, and you will be able to have all the current affairs, whatever is needed for your prelims preparation, right? तो जिसे हम कहते हैं ना इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, IR से क्या क्वेश्चन आता है, करंट अफेयर्स का क्या क्वेश्चन आता है, so everything that is IR current affairs you'll find it in all of these series. That's what my promise is, and let's kickstart the series, first episode of the series, right? So May 2025, what was in news? The IMF Executive Board approved an immediate disbursement of 1 billion to Pakistan, right? अंडर एक्सटेंडेड फंड फैसिलिटी। ये कब हो रहा था? जब ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का समय था, तब हमें पता चला कि आईएमएफ के द्वारा पाकिस्तान को फिर से एक इमीडिएट डिस्बर्समेंट मिला गया है 1 बिलियन यूएसडी का। ये ईएफएफ क्या होता है? एक्सटेंडेड फंड फैसिलिटी इज एन आईएमएफ लेंडिंग मैकेनिज्म डिजाइन्ड टू हेल्प कंट्रीज फेसिंग प्रोलॉन्ग्ड बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट प्रॉब्लम ड्यू टू डीप स्ट्रक्चरल इकोनॉमिक वीकनेसेस। सो बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट के वजह से दिया जाता है। वी गॉट इट लास्ट इन 1991 व्हेन वी फेस्ड द बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट इशू, एंड उसके बाद हमने एलपीजी लिया। एलपीजी के बाद से वी हैव नेवर टेकन अ लोन फ्रॉम आईएमएफ। ओके, सो आईएमएफ क्या है? इट्स अ स्पेशलाइज्ड यूएन एजेंसी established in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference to ensure global monetary stability post the Great Depression. It promotes monetary cooperation, ensures financial stability, facilitates international trade, supports high employment, and works to reduce poverty. IMF has 190 member countries. Headquarters kahan pe hai? It is headquartered in Washington, D.C. Each member contributes a quota based on its economic size and performance, which determines its voting power and access to funding. Right? Next in news. United Nations Forum on Forests, the UNFF. Right? India actively participated in the United Nations Forum on Forests, which was held at the UN headquarters at New York, presenting achievements in sustainable forest management. The Indian delegation highlighted the country's achievements in forest conservation, sustainable forest management, reaffirming its commitment to voluntary national contribution under the United Nations Strategic Plan for Forests 2017 to 2030. So what is that we have to be important about? It is basically voluntary national contributions under the UN Strategic Plan for Forests. ये UNFF क्या है? It's a functional commission, ठीक है? Functional commission है under the ECOWAS dedicated to forest policy, dialogue and coordination. It provides a platform for all countries to discuss and promote sustainable forest management globally, established in the year 2000. Established by UN Economic and Social Council through Resolution 2000/35. Headquarters कहाँ पे है? New York, USA में है. Right? So this is about UNFF. आगे बढ़ते हुए, let's come to the next news. Recently, in its statement, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation raised concerns over the tense situation between India and Pakistan. So what was the tense situation? It was basically Operation Sindoor. Right? So ये OIC क्या है? OIC का headquarter is basically in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Objective is to aim to preserve Islamic values, safeguard and defend the national sovereignty and independence of member states and contribute to international peace and security. It is the second largest intergovernmental organization after the UN, with a membership of 57 states covering 4 continents. The organization was established upon a decision of the historical summit, which took place in Rabat, Kingdom of Morocco in 1969, following the criminal arson of Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem. The OIC is the collective voice of the Muslim world to ensure and safeguard their interest in economic, social and political areas. Official languages क्या हैं? Arabic, English and French. Notable members कौन से हैं? Afghanistan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Malaysia, Maldives, Morocco, Niger, Oman, Pakistan, Palestinian Authority, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Turkey, Uganda, UAE and Yemen. Right? The next news. So we're talking about the Mercosur now. Mercosur क्या हुआ है? The Prime Minister of India recently told the visiting Paraguay president that India and Paraguay can work together to further expand the preferential trade agreement with the trading bloc Mercosur. Mercosur के members कौन से क्या है? So you have Brazil, you have Argentina, you have Uruguay and you have Paraguay. पहले वेनेजुएला भी था, बट वेनेजुएला अभी नहीं है एज पार्ट ऑफ मर्कोसर. सो बेसिकली अर्जेंटीना, ब्राजील, पैराग्वे एंड उरुग्वे. ये मॉडल्ड है ऑन द लाइंस ऑफ यूरोपियन यूनियन एंड इज द 4th लार्जेस्ट इंटीग्रेटेड मार्केट आफ्टर द यूरोपियन यूनियन, देन आफ्टर नाफ्टा एंड देन आसियान के बाद. द मर्कोसर ट्रेडिंग ब्लॉक वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड इन 1991. कहाँ पे हेडक्वार्टर्ड है? मोंटेवीडियो में, दैट इज यूरुग्वे में है. Objective is basically promote free movement of goods, services, capital and people among member countries. India and Mercosur का trade agreement है, preferential trade agreement, which was signed in 2004. Next in news is about IMO. Recently, in the 83rd session of the Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC, of the International Maritime Organization focused on decarbonizing the global shipping industry. The session explored a market-based measure to impose emissions emission charges on the shipping sector, balancing environmental goals with economic fairness. IMO के बारे में again little bit of information. Specialized UN agency है, focused on regulating shipping and preventing marine pollution from the ships. It was established in 1948, but India joined in 1959. Operational since 1958. Headquarters कहाँ पे है? London में है. IMO creates a fair, effective regulatory framework for the shipping industry and addresses legal issues like liability and international maritime traffic facilitation. It contributes directly to the UN Sustainable Development Goal, SDG number 14, which focuses on the conservation and sustainable use of oceans and marine resources. The IMO formulates regulations on shipping safety, maritime security, and environmental protection, but does not enforce them. Once a member state adopts a regulation, it becomes part of that country's domestic law. It was initially established as the Intergovernmental Maritime Consultative Organization in 1948, became a UN specialized agency in 1959, and was renamed as IMO in 1982. Okay, next, we come down to IAEA. The Indian Defense Minister asserted that Pakistan's nuclear weapons should be brought under the supervision of IAEA to ensure global nuclear security. जैसे कि हमारा भी आता है, the Civil Nuclear Bill, Civil Nuclear Act that we had basically signed, puts our civil nuclear facility under IAEA supervision. Similarly, India has been asking कि Pakistan वाला भी should be under the IAEA supervision. Now, what is IAEA? It was created in 1957 in response to the deep fears and expectations generated by the discoveries and the diverse use of nuclear technology. The agency was set up as the world's Atom for Peace organization within the United Nations family. It is the world's central intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the nuclear field. It works for the safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, contributing to international peace and security and the UN SDG goals. Though established independently of the UN through its international treaty, the IAEA Statute, the IAEA reports to both UNGA and the Security Council. India is a founding member. And the IAEA के member के लिए आपको NPT नहीं sign करना. It's not a precondition for membership of the IAEA. Next, we come to the World Bank. India's elevation to country champion status at the prestigious World Bank Land Conference 2025 highlighted its leadership in digital land governance and decentralized planning. The recognition comes after significant achievements in land parcel mapping, property rights formalization, and rural infrastructure planning. What is the key government initiative as part of this? It is Swamitva, survey of villages, abadi, and mapping with improvised technology in village areas. Objective क्या है? Establish clear ownership of residential property in rural areas. Method क्या होगा? Drone-based mapping of land parcels. World Bank के बारे में, World Bank is an international finance institution that provides loans and grants to the governments of low and middle income developing countries for the purpose of pursuing capital projects. It was established along with the IMF at the 1944 Bretton Woods Conference. The World Bank is a collective name for the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, that is IBRD, International Development Association, IDA, and 2 of 5 international organizations owned by the World Bank Group, which is ICSID and MIGA, right? So this is important for you to know कि क्या है exactly World Bank collectively किसके लिए stand करता है. Next, India has formally assumed the chairmanship of the Asian Productivity Organization for 2025-26 term during the 67th governing body meeting. So what is APO? APO is a Tokyo-based intergovernmental body working to boost productivity across Asia-Pacific region. Founded in 1961 with India as a founding member. Current members कौन से हैं? 21 हैं, उनमें से इंडिया, जापान, ईरान, इंडोनेशिया, फिलीपींस, सिंगापुर, साउथ कोरिया, वियतनाम, बांग्लादेश एंड अदर्स. ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? promote sustainable socio-economic growth with enhanced productivity, support inclusive innovation-led development across industry, agriculture, services and public sectors. Core functions में policy advisory, guides governments on national productivity strategies, capacity building, organizes training, workshop and research programs, centers of excellence, supports innovation and excellence across member economies, green productivity, promotes environmentally sustainable practices, and lastly, digital and innovation ecosystem enhances regional cooperation on digital productivity and entrepreneurship. Next, New Development Bank. Algeria has officially joined the New Development Bank in May 2025. So what is NDB? The New Development Bank, formerly known as the BRICS Development Bank, is a multilateral development bank operated by the BRICS. Objective क्या है NDB का? NDB aims to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in BRICS countries and other emerging economies and developing countries. The idea of setting up NDB was first conceived in 2012 during the BRICS summit in New Delhi. The agreement for establishing the NDB was signed during the BRICS summit held in Fortaleza in 2014, and the bank started operations in 2015. The bank is headquartered in Shanghai, China, with regional offices in South Africa and Brazil. Membership in NDB is open to any member of the UN. NDB has an initial authorized capital of 100 billion USD and an initial subscribed capital of 50 billion USD, which was equally distributed among the 5 founding members. Okay. Next, we have WHO. Unlike in other countries where higher prices have deterred smoking, tobacco prices remain low in India. Thus, tobacco affordability undermines World Health Organization's Empower framework and weakens control, hindering efforts to reduce tobacco-related cancers. You would have read that in the month of February, we are increasing tax on tobacco-related products, right? So WHO, the UN Specialized Agency for Health, was founded in 1948, headquarters in Geneva, 194 member states. It is an intergovernmental organization and works in collaboration with its member states, usually through ministries of health. The WHO provides leadership on global health matters, shaping the health research agenda, setting norms and standards, articulating evidence-based policy options, providing technical support to countries, and monitoring and assessing health trends. Next, India will host, actually it is already hosted, the 12th edition of the Global Space Exploration Conference, GLEX 2025. What was the theme? Reaching New Worlds, a Space Exploration Renaissance, emphasizing innovation, inclusivity and international cooperation in space science. Again, 3 I's. Innovation, inclusivity and international cooperation in space science. GLEX 2025 is jointly organized by International Astronautical Federation, Indian Space Research Organization and Astronautical Society of India. The conference represents a milestone in India's expanding global space leadership, highlighting its transition from a regional space power to a key international player. About the IAF, IAF 1951 में founding हुआ था, is a leading global non-governmental organization that brings together all stakeholders in the field of space activities, including space agencies like ISRO, ESA, Roscosmos, etc. Next news, CERN's ALICE detector has experimentally confirmed the conversion of lead into gold through a process of nuclear transmutation at the Large Hadron Collider. About CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, commonly known as CERN, was established in 1954 and is the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. It is located near Geneva, Switzerland, and is an international collaboration comprising of 23 member states. Next in news, World Organization for Animal Health. the World Organization for Animal Health released its first ever State of the World Animal Health Report. It flags an alarming rise in infectious animal diseases spreading to new regions and species, with 47% of them being zoonotic, that is, capable of jumping to humans. Now, when was World Organization for Animal Health founded? It was founded in 1924 and is headquartered in Paris. It has 183 member states, including India, and operates independently from the United Nations. So, UN का part नहीं है. World Organization for Animal Health is the global authority on animal health, working to control animal epidemics and improve global animal welfare. It runs the World Animal Health Information System to track disease outbreaks, sets international health standards for trade in animals and animal products, promotes science-based animal welfare policies, and transparent disease reporting. It offers technical support to countries, especially developing nations. India is a member and an active participant through the World Assembly of Delegates. Next, we move to the month of June 2025. Now, in June 2025, the first international organization in news was the WTO. Now, India presented its vision for a modernized WTO. Ye important hai from PSIR perspective also, right? Paper 2A for modernized WTO at a mini ministerial meeting in Paris. India's reform agenda includes tackling non-tariff barriers, addressing distortions from non-market economies, reviving the dispute settlement system, and opposing the inclusion of non-trade issues like carbon taxes. The country has also registered its opposition to the WTO agreement on fisheries subsidies, which prohibits subsidies for vessels involved in illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing and for fishing overfished stocks. Now, WTO was established in 1995, succeeding the GATT. Headquarters कहाँ पे है? Geneva में है. Objective क्या है? To ensure global trade flows as smoothly, predictably and freely as possible. Right? The WTO's appellate body, that is its highest dispute settlement authority, has been dysfunctional since 2019 due to US's opposition to the appointment of new members. Next news. UN. अब UN बहुत जगह पे अलग-अलग जगह पे न्यूज़ पे था. So what I've done is I've just put everything together. Several context में था, right? First of all, ECOWAS was mentioned because the UN hailed the ECOWAS as a model for regional integration on its 50th anniversary. UN officials raised concerns about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is a new US and Israel-backed agency, alleging it could be an aid-washing initiative that violates principles of impartiality and neutrality. What is aid-washing? Aid-washing is basically aid के नाम पे आप पैसा ज़रूर दे रहे हो, but at the end of the day, you are also creating biases and you are occupying that area in the name of giving aid to someone, right? So basically आप help कर रहे हो, but उस help के पीछे आपका national interest छुपा हुआ है. The UNGA declared 2026 as the International Year of the Woman Farmer, following a proposal by the US. The UNGA also designated 2025 as the International Year of Peace and Trust. Ha ha ha. Right? So many words, so many words. And जो पहले से चल रहे थे वो खत्म नहीं हुए. Although President Donald Trump does claim that he has stopped several wars, right? So, okay, moving on, there was UN peacekeeping पे बात हो रहा था. India has been the largest contributor of personnel to the UN peacekeeping mission since 1950s. Taliban Sanctions Committee, established by the UN Security Council Resolution 1988, it imposes sanctions on entities associated with the Taliban. Pakistan, interestingly, is set to chair this committee. Now, पाकिस्तान और तालिबान के बीच में लड़ाई चल रही है and पाकिस्तान को अपने चेयर बना दिया है to put sanctions on Taliban. Now, no comments, right? Counter-Terrorism Committee, Established by UNSC Resolution 1373 after the 9/11 attacks, it ensures that states implement counter-terrorism measure. Pakistan will serve as its vice chair. Again, no comments. You know what you have to. Counter-terrorism committee ke vice chair hai. Okay, next we come to UNESCO. Again, UNESCO was there across कई सारे न्यूज़ थे. क्या था? सबसे पहले तो it co-organized the high-level international conference on glaciers preservation in Tajikistan and declared 2025 as the International Year of Glacier Preservation. It hosted a stakeholder consultation in India on its AI readiness assessment methodology, a framework to help governments build regulatory capacity for artificial intelligence. Mount Etna, which recently erupted, is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site now. Saint Sophia Cathedral in Kiev, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1990, was damaged in a Russian attack. Halong Bay Katba archipelago in Vietnam is listed as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site. Right? So what is I've given a very brief about UNESCO, but more important than the brief is about the International Year of Glaciers Preservation and basically looking at AI readiness assessment methodology. Right? And this is important because next month India is hosting the AI Summit, so isliye ye important hai. Next, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. The African Union became the 54th member of the CDRI during the 8th Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction in Geneva. The CDRI's annual event, the International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure 2025, was hosted for the first time in Europe. At the conference, India outlined global priorities for disaster resilient infrastructure and a call to action for coastal resilience in SIDS. What is SIDS? Small Island Developing States, right? So call to action for coastal resilience in SIDS, which was launched. Now, अगर हम बात करते हैं CDRI के बारे में, it was launched by India at the UN Climate Action Summit in 2019. CDRI का secretariat is in New Delhi. Objective is to promote resilience of new and existing infrastructure systems to climate and disaster risks. Next, moving on, ECOWAS. On its 50th anniversary, ECOWAS was hailed by the UN and global diplomats as Africa's model for regional integration. It includes 12 states such as Benin, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, and Togo. Next, we move on to IATA, which is International Air Transport Association. The Prime Minister of India highlighted the country's aviation boom at IATA's 81st annual general meeting. The IATA was established in 1945 in Havana, Cuba, as a successor to the International Air Traffic Association. इसका जो headquarter है वो Montreal, Canada में है, with executive offices in Geneva, Switzerland. What is the objective? It's a trade association for world's airlines, representing some 300 airlines or 83% of total air traffic. Moving on, Asian Development Bank. The ADB committed 10 billion USD to enhance India's urban development and metro expansion projects. Separately, India opposed an 800 million USD ADB loan to Pakistan under its Resource Mobilization Reform Program, right? Resource Mobilization Reform Program. Now, established in 1966, headquarters Manila, Philippines. Shareholders में Japan and USA are the largest shareholder. India is a founding member and holds the 4th largest share. Okay, moving on, G7. The 51st G7 Leaders Summit concluded in Canada with India participating as an outreach country. The Prime Minister of Canada had invited the Indian Prime Minister to the G7. We are there on almost all G7 summits because we are there as a permanent invitee. As an outreach country, most of the countries which are hosting the G7 summit, they usually invite India. Now, the key outcomes endorsed by India include the Kananaskis Wildfire Charter, which aims to halt deforestation by 2030, and the G7 Critical Minerals Action Plan. The group also condemned transnational repression and committed to preventing migrant smuggling. Now, G7 was established in 1975 in response to the oil crisis. It is an informal grouping of 7 of the world's advanced economies. It gathers annually to discuss issues of global economic governance, international security, and energy policy. Who are the members? Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, and US. European Union also participates. Russia was a member from 1998 to 2014 but was suspended after its annexation of Crimea. So G8 से G7 हो गया है. Next we come down to BRICS. The 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum was held in Brasilia, Brazil. India was entrusted with hosting the 12th forum. Now, the acronym BRIC was coined in 2001. The group was formally established in 2009. Abhi, the group has expanded to include many more countries now: Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Indonesia, UAE, etc. So, BRICS is a very, very important topic, and we'll cover BRICS in much more detail when the BRICS summit actually takes place. When I cover that BRICS summit, we'll talk in much more detail क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हुआ है. Not only from the prelims perspective and also from IR perspective of GS mains. It's a very important topic, right? Moving on, ICC, International Criminal Court. Now, US has imposed sanctions on ICC judges over an investigation into Israel's action. Please remember, ICC, International Criminal Court, is for individuals, while UN का जो ICJ है, that is for states, right? ICC ने अरेस्ट वारंट निकाला है अगेंस्ट Putin and Netanyahu, right, for war crimes. ये है यूक्रेन के अगेंस्ट वॉर के लिए एंड नेतन्याहू का है अगेंस्ट गाजा के अगेंस्ट अटैक के लिए, right? So that is the arrest warrant that has been released. Objective is to investigate and prosecute individuals, not states, for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community: genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crime of aggression. Okay, moving on, FAO. The FAO released its review of the state of world marine fishery resources 2025 report. The report highlighted that only 29% of deep sea fish stocks are being sustainably fished and noted that 35.5% of all global fishery stocks are overfished. Right? So FAO के बारे में क्या है? 1945, headquarters Rome, Italy. Objective क्या है? A specialized agency of the UN that leads international efforts to defeat hunger and improve nutrition and food security. Moving on, the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. 2 wetlands in Rajasthan, Khichen and Minar, were declared Ramsar sites on World Environment Day 2025, bringing India's total to 91 sites, the highest in Asia. Right? So the Ramsar Convention was adopted in 1971, came into force in 1975. India became a party to the convention in 1982. It is an intergovernmental treaty that provides the framework for the conservation and wise use of wetlands and their resources. A wetland must meet at least one of the 9 criteria to be designated as a wetland of international importance. Right? Moving on, International Atomic Energy Agency. The IAEA declared Iran to be in breach of its nuclear non-proliferation commitments after a report noted that Iran has enough 60% enriched uranium to potentially create 9 nuclear bombs. This issue may now be referred to the UNSC. The agency also confirmed that a recent Israeli strike directly hit Iran's Natanz underground enrichment plant, raising global concerns about nuclear safety and security. In another instance, the IAEA reported that satellite images confirmed damage to uranium enrichment halls at Iran's Natanz site from Israeli airstrikes during Operation Rising Lion. ये Natanz को places in news में please mark it. कहाँ पे है Natanz? ईरान में Natanz कहाँ पे? Very important. Okay. Background, established in 1957, headquarters Vienna, Austria. IAEA का objective क्या है? To promote safe, secure and peaceful use of nuclear technologies. It is an autonomous organization within the UN system, reporting to the both UNGA and UNSC. India is a founding member. Moving on, International Labour Organization. The 113th International Labour Conference, that is the annual meeting of the ILO, concluded in Geneva. The conference adopted the first ever international convention on addressing biological hazards in the workplace. It also approved amendments to the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 to recognize seafarers as key workers and ensure their right to shore leave. India ratified the Maritime Labour Convention in 2015. Moreover, in a separate incident, the latest data from ILO stat, India's social security coverage surged from 19% in 2015 to 64.3% in 2025, ranking it second globally in terms of the number of people it has covered. The background of ILO: it was established in 1919 as a part of the Treaty of Versailles. It became the first specialized agency of the UN in 1946. Headquarters Geneva. Objective: to advance social and economic justice by setting international labor standards. Right? The Global Coalition for Social Justice is an ILO initiative launched in 2023, held its second annual forum on the sidelines of the ILC. Next in news is WHO. The WHO, World Health Assembly, passed a resolution titled Skin Diseases as a Global Public Health Priority, calling for a global action plan to improve prevention, detection and treatment. The WHO also released its Global Tobacco Epidemic 2025 report, which we have already mentioned, which tracks countries' progress on tobacco control using its 6 Empower measures. I've already talked about that India has implemented strong measures against tobacco advertising, but the price of tobacco is so low in India that the Empower status is not getting clear. So we have already talked about this particular tobacco epidemic report. Moving on to Interpol. On India's request, Interpol issued its first ever silver notice to track the global assets of a former French embassy officer wanted in a visa fraud case. Silver notices are a new international tool for asset recovery and information sharing. It has been established in 1923, Interpol, as the International Criminal Police Commission, renamed Interpol in 1956. Headquarters kahan pe? Lyon, France pe hai. Right? Interpol uses a system of color-coded notices to share critical crime-related information such as red for fugitives, blue for seeking information and yellow for missing persons. Moving on, World Economic Forum. The WEF released its Global Gender Gap Report 2025, in which India has slipped 2 places to rank 131st out of 148 countries. The WEF also released the Energy Transition Index 2025, where India's rank dropped to 71st from 63rd. So we are basically going down in Global Gender Gap Report as well as in Energy Transition Index. Right? World Economic Forum headquarters is Cologne, Switzerland. It is an international non-governmental organization for public-private cooperation. It engages political, business, cultural and other leaders of society to shape global, regional and industry agendas. It is famous for its annual meeting in Davos, which brings together top business leaders, international political leaders, economists and other influential figures to discuss pressing issues facing the world. Next we come down to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The UNHCR released its Global Trends Report. Very important, ये reports बड़ा important होते हैं, which found that the number of forcibly displaced people worldwide reached an estimated 123.2 million by the end of 2024. The report highlighted that children account for 40% of all forcibly displaced people. UNHCR was established in 1950 by the UNGA, headquarters Geneva, Switzerland. It has received Nobel Peace Prize in 1954 and 1981. It is an agency mandated to aid and protect refugees. Moving on, FATF. The FATF released a report on complex proliferation financing and sanctions evasion schemes, highlighting that only 16% of countries effectively implement UN sanctions to stop the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The report identified techniques used by illicit actors such as using front companies, virtual assets, and exploiting the maritime sector to evade sanctions. Now, FATF was established in 1989 by G7 countries. It is hosted at the OECD headquarters in Paris. The key tool that it has, it maintains the FATF grey list, which is basically jurisdictions under increased monitoring. एक ज़माने में पाकिस्तान भी इस grey list में था, and blacklist, which is high risk jurisdictions. The objective is to combat money laundering. Okay, next, European Union. The EU's Digital Markets Act, DMA, which aims to ensure fair and contestable behavior from large digital platforms known as gatekeepers, prompted Google to propose changes to its search results. Cyprus is set to hold the rotating presidency of the EU Council in 2026, which could enhance India-EU relations. EU is also a member of the G7. Right? So, I'm not going to go into too much detail of the EU. EU is a very common, supranational entity. So, more important is what is Digital Markets Act. Moving on to SCO. At a recent SCO defense ministers meeting, India refused to sign the joint statement, leading to the meeting concluding without one, due to the SCO's consensus-based rule. India's defense minister highlighted the SCO's significance, noting it represents 30% of global GDP and 40% of world's population. India views SCO's regional anti-terrorist structure as a key platform for fostering regional security and countering terrorism. But the problem is that we wanted a joint statement that criticized state-sponsored terrorism, which was not included. So we did not sign it. Moving on, we come to Gavi. If you remember Gavi, Gavi was a major partner for Vaccine Maitri initiative of India. During the COVID pandemic, India had sent a lot of vaccines to the Vaccine Maitri initiative to Gavi to be sent to developing states, especially to African countries. Okay, the US has withdrawn its funding from Gavi, accusing the alliance and WHO of suppressing legitimate questions about vaccine safety. The US has historically been one of Gavi's largest supporters. Now, with US withdrawing from WHO, it was obvious that it would have withdrawn funding from Gavi as well, right? Gavi has been established in 2000, Secretariat Geneva. It's a public-private partnership focused on saving lives and protecting public health by increasing equitable and sustainable access to vaccines in lower income countries. Core partners are WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Right? So that is about Gavi. NATO. NATO members have agreed to increase their defense spending target from 2 to 5% of their GDP by 2035. The alliance also reaffirmed its commitment to collective defense. Now, obviously, they have not been able to defeat Russia, despite fighting for now a long time. NATO, along with all the powers of European Union, has not been able to achieve that agenda. When it has not been able to achieve, you'd start seeing that defense expenditure going up. The second reason is that America has said no more of America funding or giving weapons for free. Now the NATO countries have to kind of pay out of their pockets for all the weapons that America is giving it to them. So, in other words, their defense budget goes up. Right? Now, NATO operates on the principle of collective defense enshrined in Article 5 of its founding treaty. It was established in 1949 with the signing of the North Atlantic Treaty, also known as the Washington Treaty. Headquarters Brussels, Belgium mein hai. Alliance of 32 countries from Europe and North America. Moving on, International Space Station, the Axiom 4 mission, NASA's fourth all-private astronaut mission, successfully launched to the ISS. The crew, which includes members from USA, India, Poland and Hungary, will spend 14 days conducting microgravity research and technology demonstration. Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla is part of the mission, becoming the second Indian national to travel to space. I'm sure you all were following the news, and when he came back and the conference, the way he was sharing about what life is all about space, I'm sure you would have all followed that. The International Space Station was established as the first component was launched into the orbit in 1998. It is in the low Earth orbit at an altitude between 370 to 460 kilometers. The objective is to create a habitable artificial satellite that serves as a multinational collaborative research laboratory in space. Key partners kaun hai? NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ESA and CSA from Canada. Right? Next, European Space Agency. ESA is a key partner in the Axiom 4 mission to International Space Station, a collaboration that also involves NASA, ISRO and the private company Axiom Space. ESA was established in 1975. It is an intergovernmental organization dedicated to the exploration of space. It comprises of 22 member states. Moving on to UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. The UN SDSN released the Sustainable Development Report 2025, which tracks global progress towards the SDGs. The report revealed that India improved its rank to 99th from 109th the previous year. However, it also noted that globally, none of the 17 SDGs are on track to be achieved by 2030. And the excuse that most countries are giving is the COVID pandemic. So they're all saying because of the COVID pandemic, none of the countries are going to achieve the 17 SDGs. The idea is that they were never going to achieve SDGs. Pehle bhi Millennium Development Goals the, none of them achieved it, right? So SDGs is also going to be either extended or a new set of goals will be coming in after 2030, right? Next, we move on to International Potato Center. The Union Cabinet has approved the establishment of the International Potato Center's South Asia Regional Center in Agra, Uttar Pradesh. Right? Now, the International Potato Center 1971 में हुआ है, headquarters Lima, Peru में है. Objective क्या है? It's a research for development organization with a focus on potato, sweet potato and Andean roots and tubers. It aims to improve food security, well-being and gender equity for the poor in root and tuber farming. Moving on, India has won the presidency of the International Institute for Administrative Services for the term 2025 to 2028. Now, what is this International Institute for Administrative Services? It is an international non-profit organization working as a federation of member states, national sections and academic research centers, jointly elaborating public governance solutions to the policy challenges of the day. It was founded in Madrid in 1930. Headquarters is located in Brussels, Belgium. It has 5 objectives. Organize high-impact events targeting and involving both public service and academia. Produce and dissemination relevant knowledge on public governance. Enable collaborative and strategic projects with members and partners. Accredit both academic and professional training programs in line with standards of best practices in public management. To produce and promote comprehensive content on public governance, research and practice to different audiences. Members, it is a global federation comprising 31 member countries, 20 national sections and 15 academic research centers. India has been a member state since 1998. Moving on to EAEU. Discussions are on a free trade agreement between India and Eurasian Economic Union कौन से कंट्रीज हैं इसमें? यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन कंट्रीज के मेंबर्स हैं रशिया, बेलारूस, कजाकिस्तान, किर्गिस्तान एंड आर्मीनिया, राइट. सो इन दोनों पार्टनर्स के बीच में, दैट इज इंडिया एंड EAEU के बीच में अब FTA को लेके बातचीत शुरू हो चुकी है. ओके, मूविंग ऑन. Just a bit about EAEU first. It's an international economic union of countries located in northern Eurasia. It provides for free movement of goods, services, capital and labor, and basically pursues a coordinated, harmonized and a single policy in the specified sectors of the economy. It is the successor of to the Eurasian Economic Community and was established by the signing of the Treaty of Eurasian Economic Union in 2014. Right? Unlike the European Union, the EAEU does not share a common currency. Moving on, we come to United Nations Population Fund. 2025 State of World Population Report titled The Real Fertility Crisis states that 1 in 3 adult Indians face unintended pregnancies while 30% experience unfulfilled desire for having either more or fewer children. Now, the United Nations Population Fund is a UN agency aimed at improving reproductive and maternal health worldwide. Its work includes developing national healthcare strategies and protocols, increasing access to birth control, and leading campaigns against child marriage, gender-based violence, and other, pregnancy-related issues, including female genital mutilation. The UNFPA supports programs in more than 144 countries across 4 geographic areas: Arab states and Europe, Asia and the Pacific, Latin America and the Caribbean, and the Sub-Saharan Africa. Right, moving on. We come down to again IAEA, just the news again. India, the world's 3rd largest oil consuming and importing nation, will lead global oil demand growth by a large margin, adding a steep 1 million barrels per day by 2030, the IAEA has recently said. Moving on, I'm going to talk about few notable organizations. Again, just underline क्या है, इतना बड़ा information नहीं है, but just तभी भी थोड़ा बहुत आना चाहिए. Court of Arbitration has issued a supplemental award on the Indus Water Treaty, stating that India holding the treaty in abeyance does not affect the court's authority to rule on disputes related to the Kishan Ganga and the Rat Lake hydroelectric projects. India rejected this award, stating that the court was illegally constituted. UNICEF is a core partner of the Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, working to increase equitable use of vaccines worldwide. Integrated Biodiversity Assessment Tool Alliance, IBAT Alliance, it's a coalition of 4 major conservation organizations that doubled its investment in global biodiversity data between 2023 and 2024. कौन से हैं ये जो 4 मेजर कंजर्वेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है? बर्ड लाइफ इंटरनेशनल, कंजर्वेशन इंटरनेशनल, IUCN and UNEP. What is UNEP? UNEP hosted negotiations and will now host the newly established Intergovernmental Science Policy Panel on Chemicals, Waste and Pollution. Moving on, International Big Cat Alliance, the first assembly convened in New Delhi with India as the host country and the secretariat. World Customs Organization, it is an international body founded in 1952 that represents 186 members. It recommended time release study which assesses cargo clearance times at ports. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that's the UNCTAD, released the World Investment Report 2025, highlighting that global foreign direct investment flows fell by 11% in 2024 and warning that investment gaps threaten the 2030 agenda for SDGs. OIC, I've already talked about it. OIC, India basically rejected a reference made to it in this recent OIC, basically on Operation Sindoor and Kashmir issue. Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI. In its yearbook 2025, SIPRI warned of a new arms race, noting that while the global stockpile has declined, all 9 nuclear-armed countries continued to modernize their arsenals in 2024. International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, a UN agency that helps its 193 member countries cooperate on air transport regulation. India's DGCA coordinates with ICAO to enforce civil air regulations. We have already talked about European Space Agency. The Solar Orbiter, a joint solar mission between ESA and NASA, launched in 2020, obtained the first images of the sun's pole. We have also talked about the World Organization of Animal Health. It recognized India's ICAR NIH SAD as a Category A rinderpest holding facility. With that, we'll conclude all the international organizations in news, both small and big. SCO, BRICS, these are huge organizations, but I've also tried to include the smaller ones because if you see the trend in the examination now, they are looking at asking questions about international organization where there is some implication on India and India's trajectory towards development. So I know it's a huge one. It will take some time for you to revise. I'm going to share the document. Feel free to kind of take a printout or, again, scribble in your tab, whatever is comfortable for you. Add in your notes and make it a proper document that you can revise just before the exam. And if you are new to this series, in case you have any doubts, feel free to reach out to me in Telegram. Till then, bye.